Hello and welcome to another episode of Ashes to Go. I am your host, Redbird, and with me is BDLG. Bordy, we got a lot of news this week. There was a very good stream, and I caught the YouTube video because I wasn't available to watch the stream, but a lot of information from the Ashes team this week, so we'll have no shortage of stuff to cover on the podcast. How you doing tonight, brother?
Dude, I'm doing good, man. I enjoyed the video. It was good stuff, so I'm excited to talk about it tonight, man. How about you, bro?
Yes, we're going to break down a lot of things for you today. A lot of the news that they went over, just kind of quick updates on where Intrepid's at as the studio, some of the new things they've been teasing, the images of the next backer pack, which is, spoiler alert, looks dope, just like everything else they put out. And then our main talking point tonight is the hybrid combat system. It was when they went into detail. They even showed some footage on this recent stream. So we're going to talk about that as our main talking point. Bordy. So let's go through the news real quick here. So new Intrepid Studio. They mentioned a lot of these things, of course, on the stream. So if you haven't seen that stream, it's up on YouTube right now. You should go check on the official Ashes of Creation YouTube channel. And it's about an hour and something long, but a lot of good information in there for anybody who's interested in Ashes of Creation. So we'll go through all these talking points real quick and kind of touch base on what we think we should. So new Intrepid Studio will not be moved into until 2021, and they cited the reason why is because they want to focus on Alpha 1 release. So, Bordy, that's great news for anybody who's in Alpha 1, right? I mean, seeing that won't be delayed because of all the COVID stuff, it seems like their primary focus is making sure that client's active.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. I want an Alpha 1, bro. I'm not an Alpha 1, though. I want an Alpha 1, but it is exciting news to know that they're pushing forward and it's not going to get delayed for that reason. And so getting them into the new studio will be pretty cool, though. I'll be excited to kind of see, hopefully they'll give us like a tour or something whenever it's done.
Like in person, maybe? Or are you talking about like a... No, you're talking about like a YouTube video.
I mean, yeah, but in person would be better.
I mean,
Steven, throw us a bone, bro,
Yeah, dude. I'm sure it's an amazing studio. And, dude, they've been hiring a lot of people recently. They said they had filled like 16 out of the 20 spots they posted or something like that. So they're hiring at a rapid rate, which poses well for a game that's in development, right? They're kicking into gear. They're getting more people in there, acclimated to the system, and all hands on deck. They're trying to get this game out, dude. So I'm stoked. I'm excited to see what they can do here.
Yeah, me too. I think it's still a ways away, though. But I'm excited to see where it goes, no doubt.
Well, better hiring than firing, right? I mean, exactly. They're hiring people. That means they're on the right track, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
So they recently moved to, they upgraded engines from Unity Engine 4.23 to 4.25. They decided that there are a lot of new tools and interesting tools in there for the developers to use. So that's obviously always good. Mr. Bard seemed very excited about that. So we gotta, I gotta take his word for it because I know almost nothing about programming. So he was very excited. So I'll be excited about it. And they're fixing some bugs, obviously related with the changes in the engines, which is to be expected. They had kind of acted like that anyway.
Yeah. They said it was a pretty lofty ordeal every time the Unity updates because they try to keep up with all of the updates. And they said it was like a really, a big ordeal to update all their stuff with that. I can imagine. So I don't know anything about that side of things, but it seems like it'd be a big ordeal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a nurse, of course, and we have a electronic charting system, and every time they update that, it's a complete cluster. Everything goes wrong all the time. So I can imagine if you've programmed your entire game around this engine and some, there's a bunch of bugs with your current work. I'm sure there's a decent amount of increased work to do with that.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Bordy, this is one of our favorite things to talk about on the podcast, mainly because we're patient people, Bordy. Me and you, we're mature and
I'm pretty mature.
I'm patient. Can I say that? I'm at least patient, and we're waiting to pull the trigger on a backer packages. All of them always look so cool, man. And I'm thinking like, this is the one, man. I thought I was gonna be a snail boy and ride that tall snail around the world and gloat in your face. But dude, Steven linked, or somebody linked over there at Ash's the next upcoming backer pack mount. And dude, I gotta say, man, I'm kind of happy I held out on the Snell Boy, because dude, this thing looks amazing.
Yeah, it does, man. But that's only one piece of it. Like, what do the other things look like, though? You know,
dude.
But if they look half as good as that did, then yeah, you're right.
Yeah, if all of it's like glowing gray and hot orange stuff, dude, I'm 100% in, man. What race do you think that's tied to? Because it looked like, I mean, I hate to be like, again, like compare. I have kids, so it looked like like an evolution of Eevee, the Pokemon, or Ninetales or something, dude. This mount looks dope. And then, like, you know, like, what race do you think that's tied to, you know?
I have no idea, man. I have no idea. I'm going to have to see the full package in play to really try to make that speculation. But I guess they'll probably tell us, though, whenever it's released.
Yeah. They usually, like, kind of go into the lore behind it and what race it's tied to. Yeah, so I'm excited. Maybe a dwarf, like the mountain dwarfs, like, that's one of their mounts that they ride, you know?
Maybe so. I don't know, but it looked amazing.
Dude, I think it's time. I think
maybe.
I gotta quit saying that, man, because
I don't want to get the same pack you do. Just because I want to get something better.
And I want to be first, so that way I can forever say that if when Ashes blows up, because we both know it's going to, then I can go on that. Yeah, I can kind of like, you know, brag about that too. Like, hey, man, I backed the game first. I knew it was going to be big before you did. And
that's okay, because then I can look at you and say, yeah, but you have a stupid looking pack, and I have the best.
Dude, no, I'm getting the Fox, man. You already said it's cool. It's on footage. So no one will ever be able to, you'll never be able to deny that, because I'll be like, think back to episode 4, man, when you said, dude, that looked amazing. And then I'll be like, yeah, it did. And I have it, you know? And then you'll never be able to say that you didn't think it was cool because it's on a podcast.
I'm going to hold out for one that's better, though. You know? Well, I'll probably hold out.
I hope you get some.
Then nothing ever will be better.
And again, I don't want to offend anybody, because everybody's got their own preference, but I hope you get some like fairy, magic, forest, enchanted princess type stuff, man, because you hold out way too long, and then all of a sudden you're gonna be looking like a princess, and I'm gonna love that. You know what I mean?
It's okay. It's fine. Whatever, man.
All right. Well, let's get to the meat and potatoes of the episode, Bordy, and it's the hybrid combat system. So, you know, Steven did a nice, a nice little example, or recorded some footage of the hybrid combat system and how that was going to work. And we've all, I think a lot of people who are interested in Ashes of Creation kind of wondered what they meant by a hybrid system, that you could use tab targeting and also action combat. So we're going to go through the details, and then we're going to kind of break this down. So basically, here is the gist of this hybrid combat system that they currently have in the game. And Steven did mention that he, you know, obviously it's a work in progress and these things aren't final. So he is willing to, based off of feedback from the community and the people that are testing the alpha, change the combat system up if needed. So as of right now, players can switch between tab targeting and action combat by pushing Z. So what this basically means is when you're in action combat mode, your camera is tied to your movement or your vision. So you'll be moving around, and then you have a cursor in the middle of your screen that, you know, obviously when you use your attacks from your weapons based on a ranged weapon or a melee weapon, you're gonna have a cone of attack, and you're gonna have to aim for your projectile or whatever type spells. They did mention, though, that also, even when you're tab targeting, your weapons will still have like a cone or AoE based attack, which will allow you to attack one or more target at a time with your basic attacks, which that's very unique to this system, because typically when you tab target in like WoW or something like that, you have a single target spell, or you're like auto attacking, you can only hit that one target. So that is a big thing. And then, of course, most of us knew that too, or this part of it, but they are going to limit our active skill bar no matter what, being in tab target or in action combat. So you're going to be, having to make choices around your skills, how you manipulate those, through the augmentation system. And like you had mentioned before the show, Bordy, some of these skills are going to lend themselves better to tab target versus action combat, which is a controversial thing right now. Anyways, so Bordy, My first question for you is, so Steven did note, and he acknowledged in the video that he did acknowledge that there is quite a bit of difference between the action and the tab-based targeting system, and the pacing and how much skill is involved. And what are your initial thoughts on having those two things coexist within one MMO?
I don't like it. That's my initial thoughts on it, man. It's weird to me, man. I don't know how he's going to do this and how they're going to make it work. Now, they did say this is very, very early, as Headhunter's pointing out here in chat, and we appreciate that reminder. This is very, very early. You know, the UI and everything he was showing, and even the systems between switching back between action and tab targeting, he said is very early. But I am not sure how they're going to make this work, man. It seems weird. It seems weird, and I don't particularly care for it, man, to be honest with you. I would prefer more just a full-on out action-based combat, because that's what I enjoy in MMOs. I don't really care for the tab targeting as much, but just pick one and go with it, because I don't know, man. It's strange. And even he said, you know, it's just the way they do these, the way each of them function is so incredibly different. To get them to work together and synergize together is going to be very hard. And maybe they can do it. Maybe they can pull it off and make it amazing. And maybe he has exactly what he wants in his mind. But to me, it's just going to be weird. You know, they were showing the skills and showcasing those and saying that, you know, like you had just mentioned, saying that you can build your character out based on a tab target skill or action combat skill. So that, to me, that's like, okay, well, do I want to play action based or tab based? And then I'm going to have to build my character out around that. I don't like that, man. I'm not too keen on that, dude. I don't know. What do you think about it, man?
I think you're gonna, and you watched the video too, so I know you know this already. But Steven did mention that if the hybrid system doesn't work out, that they'd probably lean towards more of the tab targeting system.
I know,
with high mobility. Yeah. So here's what's different about most tab targeted games, and probably how Ashes of Creation will be with high mobility. There's got to be some way to, in my mind, and I think some of the Zelda games are like played like this too, where you can obviously tap target, but if it goes out of your vision, then it untargets. So maybe that type of system where there is tap targeting, but if someone like is able to like dash behind you or do one of their movement spells to like get behind you, then your tab target drops and then you have to find them again, right?
Yeah.
I'm hoping that you can't just hit tab and like target something that's behind the back of your head or just the closest target, wherever that may be. You know, hopefully you do have to put your reticle over it to target it initially, and then, you know, maybe it locks on. But dude, I tend to lean in the same realm that you do, which is action combat. To me, like MMOs have evolved in that way to where now we no longer have to tab target something and then like just spray rain, you know, like as a caster, I typically play a lot of casters in games. You tab target and then you really don't have to think about your positioning past that point, unless it's like a raid or something in high level where you have to get out of red stuff, you know what I mean? So then, you know, with and ESO's kind of a hybrid system, I guess, right? Because with ranged attacks and the arrows, technically you're locked onto that person, right?
Yeah, they just curve. They'll just go wherever,
they curve. Yeah. And I do kind of like that for ranged people because, dude, right now, me and you are playing New World, and I main ranged people generally, and there's a significant skill gap hitting people with a projectile and even a hit scan, you know, weapon at long range versus like someone who gets to literally just walk up to somebody and spray melee attacks at them. So, you know, I can see where maybe a hybrid system will work out if it's tweaked, right? If there is tab targeting, but it's still action-based, kind of more like an Elder Scrolls Online thing.
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know. I think it's just going to be hard to balance. And then I think the biggest thing that concerns me and the thing that I keep going back to whenever I replay this in my mind is not necessarily a hybrid system, but it's the way that he said skills work with the hybrid system. Like, some skills are going to work better with tab target, and then some are going to work better with action combat. Like, that concerns me a little bit because I don't want to have to be like, if I see a really powerful spell, or a really powerful ability, but it's based around tab targeting, I'm not going to pick it because I don't want to play tab targeting. I'm going to be always in action combat. I don't see myself switching between those very much. I'm just going to play action combat. So I don't know, man. I think that's my biggest concern. And you know, we both played the Apocalypse version, you know, the BR version, and the combat in there was fun. I enjoyed it, Red, but it was full on action. There was no
there was tab
hybrid.
targeting
in there. There was tab targeting.
Yeah, you could target onto somebody, and that's what I think. If I remember correctly, I believe that you could lock onto another player.
Yeah, but you still had to aim your shots, though.
Yes,
I remember
yes,
you could lock onto them, but it wasn't like you locked onto them and then you shot a ranged weapon and it automatically hit them. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like ESO where you're aiming in the vicinity of somebody and you're hitting them. I remember the little grenade throwing alchemy gun that you got.
Yeah,
I mean, you had to aim and hit your target in there, which is. I enjoy that, dude. I like that kind of combat. It adds more depth and more feel to the combat to me versus just a tab targeting. And I agree with what you said earlier about MMOs have evolved. I think MMOs have definitely evolved past that. Let's not go backwards into World of Warcraft days, man. Let's move past that and move on into action combat. Even Guild Wars 2, man, they started with tab targeting, right? If I may say something
wrong. They have a hybrid
play a lot of system. Yeah, but they added that later. That was a big patch, though, right? That came out later.
I didn't play that on launch.
I didn't either, so I could be completely wrong. But I'm just, if that's the case, they're trying to evolve with the times and move past tab targeting too, which is what I thought happened. I could be wrong there, so that I may be completely speaking out of turn, but I thought that's what happened. So it's like, I want to move past tab targeting, man, and let's get into action combat. I feel like that's where we're at these days with MMOs.
Here's where I hope or think they will land: is not a hybrid system which you can switch back and forth between the two, but a hybrid system that involves both, right? So we have action combat that has and this is closer to they're landing closer to Elder Scrolls Online than than like a true like action-based game, but to where you can tab target onto someone for like ranged abilities and stuff like that. But there are some aiming skills, some skills that you have to use AoE to land, which is still tab targeting. But it does keep the advantage between a ranged and a melee character to be relatively the same. Because that's my concern with a lot of action combat is there's such a skill gap with again, ranged attacks, and you're a melee player, so we know that generally I think action combat's fine with you. But I do have problems sometimes where it's like I have to like try so hard to land a freaking skill, but then a melee guy can come up and just literally like stun lock me to death. It's like, there's got to be a fine line, and I'm with you 100%. I do not want to see people be able to toggle back to like easy mode to hard mode. That kind of seems silly, and I think that's what the difference is between tab targeting and action combat. If you can tab target someone, that's pretty easy to kill. Why wouldn't you, as a ranged character, always play on tab targeting? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. My comment to you, Red, is get good, bro. I mean,
listen, you're one of those that, not that there are some very skilled melee characters out there. I'm not gonna lie. But see, some of them are just the brain dead people that I want a big weapon and I'm gonna auto attack you to death, and that can't be an option. There's got to be skill involved with both, and the thing is I mean, like you want some skill involved with combat, because you don't want people accusing you of being taking the easy mode, right? So then I think that there's got to be a good balance between the different options, and I really feel like in the end that they can't have the two. They've got to find a true hybrid system that has the best of both worlds type of thing.
Yeah, and I think you're right, man. Like, what's going to prevent people for tab targeting, like you said, from just going into easy mode and shooting people? I don't know, man. It's going to be a tough thing to manage. And whenever he first brought this up, action combat, and then you can toggle by pushing Z back. The toggle thing and the skill thing gets me, man. I don't want to have to toggle between the two. Like in ESO is different. You don't toggle between combat in ESO. It is kind of a hybrid, but you don't toggle between combat. So there are people that use melee and ranged in there, and it works. That system I think works pretty well. The combat in ESO feels pretty good, but I don't know about toggling back by pushing Z. That just seems very weird, man. I'm hung up on it, dude.
Dude, I 100%. I'm gonna fat finger that key a few times,
dude. Yeah, and then it's gonna be frustrating. I'm
gonna have to reassign that key, and then pop it off of my keyboard.
They got to take it out, man. I don't know. Maybe it's going to be more fluid and more intuitive than I think it is just by looking at it. But pressing a key to toggle between the two, I don't like it, man. I don't like it, dude. And I think they got to get this right, Red, because I think our next talking point here is about how important good combat is in an MMO. Like, that's a make or break point of an MMO. So they got to nail this, right? I would think.
Yeah. I mean, and Steven and the entire team over there are very well aware that combat, and me and you mentioned this, we've covered a lot of MMOs. We mention this all the time. Combat is the most important feature of an MMO because combat is something you do on a regular basis. And so if the combat's not fun, and I don't want to point out any games, or maybe we do, that like I love everything about a game except for the combat, I won't play the game. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The game can have the most amazing systems and skill trees and class development and character development and all those things, but if the combat sucks, I won't play the game. Because what are you really doing when you're playing an MMO? You're just going in and out of combat for the most part. So if the combat's not good, it can really, really hurt a game, I think. And I guess, combat is subjective. Maybe some people prefer different types of combat than other, but I think in the end, you have to nail it with a pretty decent amount of your player base, right?
Yeah, I think so. But I think here's the saving grace for this whole thing, though, is because exactly what you just said, Steven basically said that in that video and on that live stream. So they are, like you said, very aware that it is incredibly important. And he did even point out that combat is like the thing you're going to be doing the most of in an MMO. I don't know the exact quote or what he exactly said, but that's the gist of it. He said, combat is what you do most of, so we have to nail this system. So they do know, but I just don't. I haven't played the game. I haven't played it, so maybe it's more intuitive than I think. But they've got to nail it, man. They know they've got to nail it. So it is still incredibly early on. It was still a very, very early build that they're showing us. So I'm sure after Alpha 1, once they get feedback from all of this stuff, who knows what'll change. They may take out the toggle altogether and adjust skills or whatever. Who knows? But I hope they do something a little bit different, man. Because right now it doesn't sound incredibly intuitive.
And here's the thing, dude. I'm a huge fan of everything they're trying to do over there. I think Steven's, he's a wild card, dude. Steven is the unicorn in this situation because he's so well spoken. He's so vast knowledge about gaming in general as a director and his vision for the game, dude. I think that there's potential for him 5-heading this whole thing, dude. He's putting out there 2 systems and wanting players to test them and to see which one works the best and then go from there, maybe. Maybe that's the whole reason for these 2 interchangeable combat systems.
Maybe so, man.
Is because he's just trying to collect data, man. That's all he cares about. He wants the best combat ever. And so he's going to, use these 2 completely opposite systems to try to find a landing point that makes both people happy.
Yeah, dude, 200 IQ. So now he's sitting here trying to test both of these, and then he's going to come back and say, hey, we're scratching hybrid. We're going with the one that everybody enjoyed.
But here's the thing, dude. If you can meet the needs of the people that enjoy tab targeting and meet the needs of the people that enjoy attack, which I think is the initial vision of this whole hybrid system in the first place, then you do have like the best possible combat to draw as many people into the game as possible, which is obviously their goal.
Yeah, maybe so. My first initial take on this whole thing is no, like I'm not into it. But whenever you hear him talk and that they know that it's incredibly important to nail this, it gives you faith that like, hey, we need to calm down a little bit and not worry too much about this switching in between, because at some point or another they're gonna end up getting it right, I think.
Yeah, they will. And the thing is, they're always very, very well spoken in the fact that everybody needs to voice their opinion. Obviously, to be constructive about it, you don't just say this sucks and move on like most people do with feedback. You got to give some sort of opinion that makes sense, and I think they're very willing to work with the community on this as they kind of pull this game into alpha and pull more people and eyes onto it to kind of use that feedback to make the game better.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's going to be interesting to see what he lands on. I can't wait to see what happens.
All right, Bordy. Well, that is another episode of Ashes to Go. You have anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think that's about going to do it, man. A little bit of a quick, short episode tonight, but I think that's fine.
Man, that's how we like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
we're trying to get in your guys' ears and be as informational as we can be with BDLG on the show, which is difficult, but we get there.
Bro, what do you mean? I am the informational person here. I'm the better half. What do you mean?
Why don't you tell people where they can find you on the internet?
Yeah, man. All right, so you can find me over at Twitter at TheBDLG. You can find me on YouTube at TheBDLG, and then you can find me streaming on Twitch at twitch.tv/BDLG. There's no the in front of that one. And then, of course, you can find me creating content over at StudioLoot.com, where we have multiple MMOs that we're covering right now. And then we're just pumping out content over there on a regular basis.
Yes, and I'm Redbird. I'm Redbird with a Y. You can find me over at Twitch and YouTube under the same name. Guys, we are Studio Loot, man. You got to check it out. We're covering New World. We're covering Ashes of Creation. We're extremely excited about both of those games. We have a website, Ashes Fans Up. There's not a lot there right now, but you just wait. When you blink and you're not following that website, it's going to blow up with a bunch of content. And you got to get over there right now. Check it out. Again, if you are listening to this as a podcast, please give us a 5-star review. It really helps us in the directory, kind of our position there. It helps us with being noticed, and that's we are eternal grateful for people that take that effort. So thank you guys for supporting us, watching us here on Twitch, and checking us out on those podcasting platforms. Bordy, we'll see you next week, man, on another episode of Ashes to Go.